Hello, everybody, and welcome to the March 2023 edition of the Krehbiel Letter podcast, in which I summarize what's in the Krehbiel Letter. This time, there are fewer articles, a little bit longer. The first one is about two frameworks for CDP use cases. Now, I'm going to be explaining this in a lot more depth at the MarTech conference on March 29th, so I encourage you to sign up for that, and you'll hear me explain this in a lot more depth. But right now, I'll just give you a quick overview. Basically, when people do CDP use cases, they think of what I'm calling the device framework. That is, a device makes a request to a server. That device shows some activity, and then eventually you get some identities around that device, like it clicks on certain links, or maybe it clicks on an email, or maybe it enters an email address or a name or a phone number or something, and then that eventually resolves down to a person. So that's what I'm calling the device framework. And then on the other side, you have the person framework. And this is where you realize that people are a lot more complicated than your data structure, right? People have multiple devices. They use multiple different browsers. They have multiple identifiers. They have a work email address and a home email address. They sometimes will organize themselves into different personas. Like, for example, somebody who comes to your store to buy things for their office might want to keep that account separate from when they buy things for their home, right? So people organize their lives very differently than we think when we look at it exclusively from what I'm calling the device profile. So anyway, we need to remember that it's not a person who visits our website, it's a device, but behind that device is a person. And we need to look at our use cases through both of these frameworks in order to get a better understanding of what our customers are doing and to make sure that we're meeting their needs and not just following a silly scheme in our customer data platform. Now, the second article here I call Send Your Employees to New York. And this one, the point is that there's a lot of productive creativity you can get by getting out of your routine. So I have a routine that I follow whenever I get a chance to go up to New York. A couple days ahead of time, I'll pick a topic that I want to study or something I want to prepare for. And before I go on my trip, I'll print out white papers and articles. I'll find links to YouTube videos. I'll find podcasts. I'll get them all ready for the trip. Then on the trip, on the ride north, that would be for me, I read it all. I listen to it all. It's a good idea to go between reading and watching and listening. It kind of breaks things up and helps out a little bit. But you want to read stuff, you want to devour it, you want to highlight, you want to take notes, you want to ask questions, you want to really study it. Then, once you get to your destination, forget all about it. Go do something else. Go to a conference. Go have lunch with a friend. Do something that gets it completely out of your mind. Now, on the ride back home, you want to have a relaxing ride back home. Get a beer. Actually, they have a really good double IPA on Amtrak, by the way. And this is the part where you want to be creative. You want to organize your notes, but organizing sounds a little too much. You want to be creative. You want to jot things down. You want to let your mind wander a bit. Jot down notes. Start on a rough outline. Capture as much of your creative insights as you can of the stuff you studied that morning, but be relaxed about it. Your subconscious mind is doing work that you don't even know. And following up on that, the next step is go home and go to sleep. Because when you sleep on something, there really is some value in sleeping on something. Your brain is doing stuff while you're sleeping. The next day, look at your notes and look at your outline with a fresh set of eyes. Refine the outline, extract takeaways, note new areas of study and new questions to ask. You'll be amazed if you follow a procedure somewhat like this. You'll be amazed at the things you can come up with. And there doesn't have to be an event to go to. You can just go visit a friend. But the crucial components of this method are, first, very focused attention. Second, be distracted away from whatever it was you were focusing your attention on. Third, think creatively about it. Fourth, sleep on it. And then fifth, summarize and organize. And I think if you follow that kind of procedure, you'll be surprised what you come up with. But here's the trick. If you send your employees out on days like this, a day away from the office, the benefit you'll get from the productive creativity, from the focused attention, from them thinking about this topic, having a day that's they think about this, it's going to be well worth the time and the effort, and it's much better than whatever loss of in-office productivity you had from them leaving the office. So think about that. Think about taking some of your staff, maybe some of your key staff, and sending them off someplace for a day and say, just study some topic and go have fun and then come back. All right, the next article is a subscriber retention checklist. I'm a big fan of checklists. I think it's important to make sure that you're covering all the bases. So if you have a renewal business, renewals are crucial to subscription publishing, and engagement is crucial to renewals. So a few years ago, a little while ago, I did a review of paywalls on newspapers, like 30 paywalls across the country or something like that. And they were awful. They were uniformly awful. The benefits that they would propose are like read more, just nonsense stuff. Here's the hard truth. I'm sure you're justifiably proud of your product. I'm sure you do make great stuff, and that's good. But nobody has any benefit in getting access to your content. That's not a benefit. The benefit is what they can do because they have access to your content, right? You have to focus on what they're able to accomplish. What do they really want? So when you think about retention, think about what do your subscribers want? What are their goals? How can they achieve quick wins? What are their success benchmarks? What are they trying to do that your content helps them to do? And also think about how might they be confused? You might find that out with user groups or user testing. You want to make it easy for customers to learn how to use your service. You want to provide training videos. You want to eliminate friction wherever you can, and make sure your customers are comfortable with your service. Make getting help very easy. And then, to what extent can you make your service a habit? Get into their workflow. What part of their daily routines are you solving? Provide information in different forms, in quizzes and checklists and other kinds of things. And then another thing you can do is create an active community around your content. Now, if engagement is key to retention, how do you measure it? Well, here's a few things. Logins per month, pages per session, time on site, time on page, comments, social media shares, subscriptions to e-newsletters, open and click rates on e-newsletters. Bosacks had an article a little while ago about some company that put together something like 40 metrics on how to measure engagement, and they came up with a score. And they would assign every customer this score based on these 40 metrics. And then when people were starting to slip in their engagement, they would do various campaigns to reactivate them. I thought that was genius. All right, the last thing in this edition of the Krehbiel Letter is taming the open-ended question beast. And everybody who's done a survey knows that open-ended questions are hard, because how do you evaluate them? You have to read them all, and then you have to classify them all, and it's really difficult. But people taking surveys prefer the open-ended questions. Apparently there's research to show that, and it makes sense to me, because when I see a question and I get 4 answers and I go, well, none of those 4. They'll say, pick the one that's best. Well, they all stink. So it's better to have open-ended questions. You get better answers, but then you have to deal with them. Well, AI can help with that. There are a lot of different services that use AI to classify and organize your open-ended questions. And in the letter, I have a list of a bunch of them. Canvas AI, Max QDA, there's a bunch. Go to krehbielgroup.com and go to the page for the Krehbiel Letter, and you can download the PDF of the latest issue, and you'll see the list of technologies there. You might even be able to do this with ChatGPT. I'm not sure. I'd like to try that myself. Another thing, I don't accept referral fees. So if I recommend a technology, I'm not getting anything out of it. Okay, I don't get any kickbacks. I don't get any payments. If I recommend a technology, I recommend it because I think it's good, not because I'm getting any money. So that's the end of this edition of the Krehbiel Letter and this Krehbiel Letter podcast. I hope you like it. Please go to the website, sign up for the email version, and download the PDF and give it a read. By the way, also, all of the articles in the letter and more show up on the blog section of my site, krehbielgroup.com. Thanks so much. Have a good day.